Welcome to episode 274 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode, I look at some of the big issues facing sports.
Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who is super proud of Gravitas Squad, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, my name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. You can find the podcast on all good podcasting platforms, and you can also find it at sportsgeekhq.com. As always, you can send me an email, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com, or reach me on social media at Sean Callanan. As DJ Joel said there in the opener, I am very proud of my esports team, Gravitas. They just missed out on a spot in the playoffs in the OPL, but I was really impressed with the effort the guys put in, and also to see some of our strategies come to the fore. As far as running with a bigger squad, not running with a team house, adapting to the challenges presented by COVID-19 and playing the games online and not going into the studio. And then also in the last 2 weeks, presenting the Gravitas cast, where I was actually commentating and presenting the esports games, our games, to a wider audience. I'll share some of those links in the notes. I'll only share the games that we won, but yeah, have a watch back of the game where Gravitas beat Pentanet. I think it's actually a really good episode, but a really good way of learning League of Legends and just get a bit of an insight into why I think there is an opportunity there, and then also why more people will start watching it over time. So if you want to learn a bit of esports, check that out. Before I get into this episode, don't forget you can support all of our efforts in the podcasting newsletter and now Zoom call space by going to our Patreon campaign, sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. And really appreciate your support. Helps pay for the cost of this podcast and the hosting. And everything that's required around it. I really do appreciate all the support we've got so far. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can be a personal supporter for as little as $4 a month. Or if you're a business that wants to reach and connect with my audience, you can do so being a silver or gold supporter. So I guess first things first, thank you very much for the response from episode 273, where I looked at how I believe sports will bounce back from COVID-19. I did that podcast sort of not knowing what the future was ahead, and I don't have any clear answers right now, to be honest. I haven't obviously done a couple of podcasts over the last couple of weeks, and I'm happy to share the reasons why. The main thing is most of my podcasts are talking to people in the industry about some of the cool things that they're doing and about their careers. And it's completely understandable that people don't want to get on a podcast and talk about how awesome their job is and what they're doing when potentially they're not working, or their colleagues aren't working, or they're uncertain of their future. So I will start the podcast up again and interviews up again, but once people are comfortable with it. So in the meantime, the podcast is going to take a little bit of a shift, a bit of a pivot. It's going to be adaptable. It's going to be nimble, agile, what we all need to be. So what's next? I will be doing some interviews, talking about the issues that we are currently facing, but also talking about their careers and I guess taking your mind off it and trying to have that long view. I'm going to be working on the Sports Geek Amplify series with a couple of partners and technology partners and solutions that we can sort of go into that deep dive on what the new normal might look like, what some of the solutions we might look at, what are things we should be thinking of from an innovation point of view, how can we do things differently. So I'm really looking forward to that series as a podcast. And then also I'm doing a few other things around the Sports Biz Zoom calls. If you have not jumped onto one of those, please do so. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Zoom calls. and that pretty much is, a curated discussion with people around the world on the topics that are facing us now and also what we're trying to look at. So really happy that I've had some really strong support from people who've been on the podcast, former guests, listeners, and people just looking to improve themselves and come up with different solutions. And some of it's at pro team level, some of it is at participation level, at grassroots. So really wide and varied discussions. So it really does, fill my energy meter, those kind of sessions. So I'd love you to be involved. And additionally, if you are someone that is currently stood down or out of work because of what we're going through, we have got the Sports Business Rockstars Registry. As I said in the podcast, 273, the COVID-19 podcast, we don't know what the new world's going to look like. And we also don't know how the new world's going to be resourced. So if you want to help people or look for new opportunities or connect with some cool people, that's what the Sports Business Rockstars Registry is. Put your details in, connect with the other people on the list, come to the Sports Biz Zoom calls, make genuine connections with people. And I think, those people who make that effort and are talented will find their space, land on their feet. And who knows, we might actually end up working together when we come up with a cool and amazing project on a Sports Biz Zoom call. Yeah, you don't know. So the podcast is going to change, but it has always changed over the years. When it first started, it was really just the radio snippets of my segments with Francis Leach and Daniel Harford, and it was really just clipped together. And then I sort of went to the longer form sports executive interviews with people working in digital and technology and marketing and those kind of things. And then I did the Sports CEO series, which is a more C-level type discussion around the bigger picture. Those interviews are going to return. I'm still setting up and planning to do those interviews, so it's not going to be that they're going to stop. I'm just sort of giving you a bit of a reason why there was a bit of a pause as everyone was trying to figure out what to do in this current environment. So over the years, I've done solo pods like this where I've discussed a particular topic or reviewed content like Mary Meeker's latest reports and those kind of things. And also, I've also shared keynote pods where I share a keynote from a conference and that kind of thing. So I think I'll be doing a combination of those kind of things, and then I'll also be stepping up, the Q&A pods. But I think also I'm going to sort of tackle this like a radio show might, in that there'll be different segments and diving into different things. So I have a bit of structure and in what I want to do. So if you've got feedback, if you've got a section, a segment idea or a suggestion or feedback of, hey, I'd love your take on this, or I'd like you to tackle this problem, or here's an idea for a podcast, please send them through. I'll be doing a variety of stuff. I'm looking back at some old keynotes. I'm going to be building out some new keynotes to both deliver online, but also deliver via the podcast. I'm looking at things like the Ignite series. I don't know if anyone's ever done an Ignite talk before. It's a 5-minute talk, 15 slides that automatically advance every 20 seconds, so it doesn't let you ramble on, as I tend to do sometimes. So it gives you a tight 5 of a presentation. I'm thinking about doing those and how do they work in a podcast form. I'll take on board all of your ideas. I will be asking people on the Sports Biz Zoom calls what they want. And one of the ones was, one of the questions I did pose was, what type of content do you want? Do you want content of how we can work through the current issues and get through what we're getting through, or do we also want that long form? Where are we going to go? What is going to look like post COVID? So one of the identifiers I'm going to use now is DC during COVID and PC post COVID. We're now going to talk about all time like that. So I think for the most part it's going to be a mix of that kind of stuff. What can you do now? DC, and then what would it look like when we're out of this? What's the PC world look like? So I'm going to use those terms. So I'm not saying the word COVID so often. But I'll try to remind you what they mean, so it's not just my little acronym. So I wanted to use this one as sort of a follow-up to the previous episode where I sort of looked at how sports will bounce back. And I do think sports will bounce back. My view on that hasn't changed. I think everyone's taking a battering right now across multiple industries, and sport's not excluded from that, and all the different segments of sport aren't excluded. But I do like the direction and the enthusiasm and the optimism of the people I've been talking to. So hopefully I'm providing some of that for you as well, because I know that the people I've been talking to have been providing for me. So thank you very much. So what I want to do is sort of tackle some of the big issues that I'm both talking to people about, that I'm seeing, where I think things go, and just for reference, because the world changes every 24 to 48 hours. I'm recording this on April 15, and I'm going to do it with a digital to dollars lens. Right, so part of what I was offering and way I see what we need to do going forward, I outlined in the last podcast, is flipping digital to dollars on its head and tackling the problems ahead of us on those 5 pillars. So if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, welcome. Thank you very much for coming on board. Digital to dollars is our process to help sports teams, leagues, athletes best understand what their digital audience is, what the content they're producing is, and how to make money from it. Digital to dollars is a straightforward piece. The 5 pillars are: know your audience, know your content, know your distribution, know your value, and know your pitch. And there's actually going to be a new segment in the podcast later on that will actually tie it all together. And it's a bit of a throwback, but it'll sort of point out that I was sort of on the right track way back when. So putting that digital dollars lens on it, I'll start with the audience. And so, so it really gets down to, what do you know about your audience right now? Are there any gaps? And can we use this time right now to fill some of those gaps? How can we capture more data and understand our fans better than we currently do? And then the other part of this piece is, and I think that's the first one that's very vital. Like, everyone is bored doing things at home. Too many people are doing those social games on Facebook less than 18 months after Cambridge Analytica. Stumbling my words there. They're doing all those social games, telling everyone what their favourite colour is and where they went to school and their favourite album, which is giving up a lot of data. And people have forgotten. But there's a really good time now to do, I'm not saying harvest your fans' data, but to run competitions and ask your fans more and engage with them, because they want to be engaged. So I think there's a real big opportunity there to get some data and get more info. But I think the other thing that you want to be thinking about, how is fan behaviour changing? Like, how is it changing right now, DC, during COVID? People are ordering online more, becoming more comfortable with ordering online. They're finding new entertainment options online. They're exercising without the help of clubs and sports. So their behaviours are changing, and it will change over time. And then what do we think, and this is where you've got to try to predict, and this is part of asking your fans, what will the fan behaviour be like post-COVID? Like, again, early on, everyone's going, I can't wait to go back to footy. I can't wait to get to an NBA game. Bring on the playoffs. I want to be there. And now already the research is starting to come through as people are getting more information around the virus and the safety and social distancing and what does it look like. There's actual fear, and there's people going, I don't know if I want to be in a stadium with 30,000 people or 10,000 people. Is it safe? So I think understanding that and the comms that's going to be needed around that to address it and to make sure it's okay for fans and to alleviate those fears, I think it'll be really important on the stadium side of things for them to be really ahead of that comms. So really diving in as best you can in understanding that fan behaviour. And then I think the other one is the one that we're doing now is, how do you engage the fans that are at home? They've been long neglected. We've always focused on the fans in the stadiums. I'm always about getting the cheeks in the seats. but 99% of fans aren't in the stadium. And at the moment, it's 100%. So how are we developing a way to better connect with them, better engage with them, better transact with them? So that's what I'd be looking at from a they're the things that come up when I say, when I think audience and think the audience pillar around what are the big issues right now. On the content one, and, talking to my digital tribe, the people that are trying to produce content and engage fans when there's no content. And it's like the worst off-season ever. And everyone's in the off-season. Like, we're all in the off-season together. And the question that I would be asking every day, every time I hit the post button or the tweet button or the schedule button is why? Why are you posting it? What's the outcome you want? And it's probably now more than ever. Like, they're the first three questions asked in every content review. Why? But it's almost more important now, because I think there is this like a mild panic, or is probably too strong, but like this pressure of we've got to engage the fans. The fans wanted games and they're not on, and we've got to talk to them. And it's a bit of a virtuous cycle. Resources are at a premium. In some cases, there's less people because people are not working and they've been stood down. So the content should be even more precious. Like, you should not be wasting your resources' time to go, we've got to put out a post every day. Why? What's the outcome of it? And so have that outcome. And it does point back to the audience piece. We need to we're going to put this content out. Why? Oh, we're going to put this content out to see if this audience is engaged, or to see if they actually like this. Oh, we never tested this before because we had so much real life content from games. We never did it. So that's why we're doing it, and we're going to see if it works. And it might be, how many people can we get to view this video? Or how many people can we get to engage with this? Those kind of things. Like, that's the why. It doesn't have to be how many emails we're going to get or what are the impressions we can get for a sponsor, but like have that real, like, make sure everything you're doing is meaningful. And then the outcome will come from that, because if you give yourself the permission to produce that type of content and do it for a reason, then you can find something you're like, oh, we didn't realize that our fans wanted that type of content. That is now valuable. Cool, that's valuable. That's new. That's new inventory. We can go back. That can be used as a make good. That can be used to partner. So, yeah, I ask digital staff a lot, why? And I think it's even more important now, just so you don't just end up getting on the content treadmill. Like, we don't want to hit on the punch card clock of content. I love Steal with Pride. I love taking something and adapting it. And that's happening a lot. There's only so many quarantine houses we can all agree we're going to be part of. So, like, they're effectively, their tactics, but just slow down a little bit, and just give it a bit more thought, and don't just go for this is the quick and easy, the sugar hit, I guess, is what some of the social content might be. But ask yourself why, but ask your team why, and start diving in and learning more about your fans via your content. From a distribution point of view, I think the main thing is this highlights now more than ever to own your own channels. So when I talk distribution, a lot of it does focus on the social media strategy. What is your strategy for all the platforms? How are you going to go about posting on all these platforms? That is still the case. So you're still, I'm not saying abandon, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the like. But again, put some more effort and focus in to a really key distribution channel, your own channels, which is your email list, your SMS list potentially, or your own channels, whether they be your app or OTT solution. And the more fans you can get on those solutions, it's far easier to communicate. You're not checking an algorithm when you're sending an email. You're not checking an algorithm when you're sending a text. So again, what are the ways that you can develop a better method, a better funnel to go from fan loved that video, fan went to website, fan clicked on tweet, fan double tapped Instagram to let's get them in the database. Let's start understanding and talking to them at a one-to-one level. So from a distribution point of view, everything that I'm doing, both DC and post PC, post-COVID, is how do we improve and increase our database size and our CRM, and both from a depth point of view, how much data are we getting, and a breadth point of view. So more records and more info on each record is what I'm trying to say. From the value pillar, this is one of two MVPs. They're both not good. They're both not the same, I should say. So the MVP here in the value pillar is most volatile pillar, right? Trying to put a valuation on social assets, on digital assets, is really tough right now. Digital consumption is up. Normally that's great, right? More impressions, but it's up across the board everywhere. Right? More people are streaming, more people are watching Twitch streams, more people are watching YouTube, more people are watching Netflix. And more people are listening to radio. But what's not happening and what's not increasing with that is the ad dollars in advertising to those platforms, because so many markets and so many industries have been affected by this pandemic. So the ad market is crashing. So the value of TVs and pre-roll and all that are really crashing. So the pitch of saying, well, this is what we think. Our rate card says our Facebook post is worth this. Our rate card says an Instagram post is worth this. Our rate card says an Instagram story mention on our game day is worth this. Is a tougher story to sell, right? Because brand awareness is not something that businesses are out there looking for right now. To a certain degree, the logo slap and cool, it's there. Are you happy with that? Look how many times your logo was on socials. Is almost dead. Like, it's been accelerated. To mine, it was dying way before 6 weeks ago. But it's really tough now. And so the value now really has to come from the effort you're putting in on your platforms and the connection and engagement you have on your platforms, how well connected you are to your audience, and your IP, and what's the worth of being associated with that. So there's still value there, but it's got to be far more sophisticated to be able to be justified. So that's why it makes it the most volatile pillar, right? Whereas know your pitch, right? It's your other MVP, but it's your most valuable pillar. Okay, because sponsorship now has to move and align with performance marketing. Okay, I'm already talking to sponsorship representatives and people who represent brands and agencies. In the last 4 weeks, there's someone that's out there pitching sponsorship, with Gravitas, and saying, hey, come and sponsor my esports team. Here's all the different things we can do. And the conversation I'm having and the responses I'm getting are, we've put sponsorship on pause. So in the same way the ad market is crashing, there's so many businesses and industries affected that sponsorship will be something that they either cut or pause or reduce. But where's that money going to go? And so a lot of that money is going to stay, or the money that's not affected, or the money that's going to be, the segment's going to capture that money is going to be in performance marketing. So performance marketing is online and digital that can be tracked to an nth degree. So running your own Facebook capture campaigns, Google AdWords, those kind of things that insurance provider, a ticket seller, anybody can track. I know how much money I gave to Google or Facebook or a digital agency, and they can tell me and show me the conversions and show me how much return I got. That can be done. That's exactly what Know Your Pitch is. Developing a campaign that delivers results for your sponsor that they can point back to and go, that was a really good campaign. That delivered this much revenue, this much sales leads, this many customers. That's the whole end game of digital to dollars, getting to the point where they go, actually, you guys can actually deliver customers from your audience through your digital to our front doorstep. So that's why it is the most valuable pillar. So if you don't have staff, commercial staff, sponsorship staff, account executive staff, whatever you call them, that can't build, sell, explain, track, report on these types of sponsorships, that can't see a sponsorship and go, that needs to have more digital in it. This is how it needs to be executed and this is how we would price it. Please give me a call. I do believe it can be taught. I do believe there is ways for teams to understand how to pitch that and also deliver it. But I believe, again, in the same way, I think there's this acceleration of what the old way was and what the new way has to be. I think this is accelerating that piece. So the days of getting a big check so you can get to sit at a courtside seats or in a suite and have your logo on the Jumbotron or the scoreboard and say, yep, this is great. We saw some, we saw our logo up on the scoreboard. That person who approves that sponsorship, they're getting asked by their CEO, where are we spending all this money? What is it returning? And when they can look at the digital marketing and the performance marketing and see what results they're getting, and then they come to the sponsorship portfolio and don't see those results, they're not going to continue with the sponsorship piece. So sports needs to change and understand that they need to be able to deliver. They need to be able to pitch, deliver, and report in the same way that performance marketing does. So that's going to be one of the biggest shifts, I think, in the next 12 to 18 months, 2 years, as budgets both freeze, unwind, start warming up again. They won't be the same deals when they do get renewed.
We'd love your support on our Patreon campaign. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. Find out more about SportsGeek's Digital to Dollars process at digitaltodollars.com.
Okay, now I'm going to try some of these new segments. This segment is going to be called One Slide, 2 Minutes. And so what I'm going to do is find one of my old slides from a presentation or a deck or a workshop or a speech or someone else's slide, whether it's a Mary Meeker slide or an industry slide that gets shared. And I'm going to present it or represent it for the world at 2020. So I'm going to first intro the slide and then I'm going to start the clock. So James, if you can start the ticking clock or something in the background, giving my production notes during the podcast, classy. This slide is from my social media workshop presentation in May 2010. This slide is effectively 10 years old. James, start the clock. So I will share this slide in the show notes. The slide is from a Jets rally in Times Square from a trip in 2010, and it outlines the Sports Geek formula. This was the formula that I was pitching to teams 10 years ago, and it has 6 points. Find and engage fans, build on fan loyalty, offer fans great deals, help fans support you, techniques that work, and then bring $$ back to you. So I look back at that and part of me sort of slaps my I've got a really bad Sports Geek logo. That was the first version of the Sports Geek logo in the bottom left corner. I do remember that Jets rally. It was quite fun to accidentally turn up to it. But the formula itself, this was the formula that was what I was pitching teams when I first got started. And it hasn't changed that much, and it's very similar and aligned to digital to dollars, right? So find and engage fans, that's audience. Right? That's audience. That's build and reach and engage fans. That's understanding your audience. Build on fan loyalty is all about content and giving them content. And it was the starting points of what became another phrase, my digital face paint. Giving them content that they can share and double tap and show their fandom. Offer fans great deals. Again, was early social media. And sort of trying to bring that digital cheer squad into the inner circle, and again sell tickets. Help fans support you was about leveraging the digital cheer squad. Was about what is your hashtag? What do you want your fans to do? And again, that hasn't changed, but that was very much around distribution. That was, what's your hashtag? What do you want your fans to do? How do you want to train them? I think the rule back then was it takes 6 weeks to train a fan to do something. I don't think that's changed. It still takes 6 weeks to train a fan to do something. Techniques that work. That's not my best copy work, to be honest. But that was very tactical. That was, hey, these are the things that are working on the platforms right now. And again, in 2010, it was, do you like our chances? Click like if you think we're going to win today. That worked back then. We have to keep adapting. And then the last one, bring dollars back to you. That's the worst version of digital dollars title. But it all was about how can we build these fan bases and connect with them, and then connect sponsors with what you're trying to do there. So hopefully, checking my timer, that I got that off in 2 minutes. You can play the buzzer now, James. There you go. I'm going to keep trying to do that. Go through my Sports Geek presentation archives, find a slide, talk about it, and see what you think. It is interesting going back. Like I said, I shake my head when I look at what my slides look like 10 years ago. I like to think that I have lifted my presentation game, but I also like to think that I was on the right track then. I've just been able to articulate a little bit more now. And another segment that it's the last one I'm going to do. This is not going to be Segment City, but another segment that I'm going to include, in the podcast going forward, is it's going to be. And this is where I will work with James. We'll come up with some nice stings and intros for these. But until that happens, this one's going to be called "Do This Today." This is going to be one tactic that you can implement today that will improve your life. That's it. Not just your digital team, not your clicks, your life. I'm going big. And this one is a personal one for me, that I have seemed to have hit a rhythm in lockdown. And for me, it is morning journaling. So it's called a number of things from different people, morning pages or journaling. A lot of writers do it where you just you open up your journal at the start of the day and you just start writing. It's not meant to be a memoir or an autobiography. It literally is just your thoughts, getting your thoughts out on paper, your thoughts, your fears, what are you thinking, what you're trying to do. And it's something that I've probably done for the last 3 to 4 years, off and on. Have stretches where I do a lot of it, and then I get busy and life gets in the way and it doesn't happen. And I've been using an app called Habits. It's an Android app that allows you to tick off that you did it as a daily habit. And journaling's always been there. And I think it was, 2 months ago or a couple of months ago, I realized that I'd get to one thing. I'd do it during the week, no worries. Monday to Friday, have my coffee, and I'll be in a coffee shop when I used to be able to, and I just write down the things. And sometimes it would be really functional. I'm really looking forward to meeting so-and-so, and I've got to make sure that I get that podcast out and those kind of things. And other times it would get, deep and meaningful and, the big meaning of life and what I'm trying to tackle and those kind of things. So, and there was you try to do it without any judgment on yourself on this is why I'm doing it. And so I noticed through habits that I'd get to 14. So I'd do it. Like weekends were always tough because you'd do something, your routine would be a little bit different on a weekend. So you'd forget it and then I forgot. And so I noticed that I'd had a couple of streaks of 14 where I'd break and Sunday I wouldn't do it. And then I'd start again and do another 14, 2 weeks straight. So I said, look, I've just got to break through that 14. And so I'm now at checking my habits app 65. So I've done it for 65 days straight now, and I just passed 100 journal days for the year. So it's a habit, right? I'm now doing it every day. Now some days I'm not feeling it as much as others. Some days I have done it later in the day. I haven't done it this morning, but it's a bit of now I've got to keep the streak alive. I think it's a productivity hack. I'm probably going a bit off topic now. It is a productivity hack for Jerry Seinfeld. He has the same technique to write a joke every day, and he marks it off in his calendar with an X. And to him, once he starts that chain, he doesn't want to break it. And that's where I'm at now, 63 days in. I'm like, I don't want this to be the day that I don't journal. So first of all, you can be compulsive, but it's not, and get to 65 days. I don't think I'm that yet, because I have been doing it for almost 3 years and I've only hit a real significant streak now. But it's worth doing. So whether you do it 3 times a week and off and on, it's just a good way of getting you unstuck. And so this is a period where everyone's getting stuck. It's part of the reason, I haven't done a podcast for a couple of weeks because everyone's stuck. I'm stuck. Everyone's stuck. We're trying to figure it out. So that has helped. So if you're a morning journalist, a journal person, let me know. Love to your tips and those kind of things. If you want to give it a go, if you've got a question, please hit me up. If you think this is a terrible idea for all segments, please let me know. I really am going to be driven by you, the listeners. If you say you want me to do something in particular, whether it's a particular segment or a question, please send me an email. Let me know I'm on the right track. I love podcasting, but it's a real solo pursuit. You get your occasional LinkedIn message when someone connects and says, I listen to the podcast. And then you get the occasional in-person when you meet someone in real life. And then you realise that they listen to the podcast. I'm not doing any of that at the minute. We're all in lockdown, and hopefully you are safe with your family. So, send me a message if you're listening to the podcast. But if you want me to dive deeper, if I've only scratched the surface of a topic and I've skimmed over something and I want to know more about that, or can you dive a bit? Let me know. So that's it for this episode. As always, I've still got the big buttons on the front page of Sports Geek website, sportsgeekhq.com. If you're interested in the Sports Geek Amplify series, if you're a business that want to help sports on the other side, PC, post-COVID, reach out to me. I'd love to talk about the Sports Geek Amplify series and what we're planning to do there. If you are a sports business rock star, which if you're listening to this podcast, you obviously are, and you are looking to connect with other people, looking for a job, looking to work, looking to help people while you're stood down, those kind of things, go to sportsgeekhq.com, put your details in there, connect with some of the people that are already on that list. Thank you to those who have signed up already. Some really good people there. You can connect with them. I am now opening the website right now to just quickly give them all a bit of a shout out because they are awesome people. And if you haven't connected with them, you should. The links there will go straight to their LinkedIn. So people like Chris Chuck, Ernie Simsek, Dan Gardner, Liz Smith, Nick Splitter, Will Carter, Joel Smith, Steve Neal, Grace Vandermeer, I hope I've said your last name right, Grace. Matt Payne, Jeff Dickinson-Fox. There's more people like that can do things like marketing, digital, comms, content. And guess what? Everyone's marketing can work remotely because we all can. So if you are looking for some cool people to work with, please check out the Sports Business Rockstars Register and please add yourself and connect with those cool people. Until next time, if you want, I would really appreciate if you checked out our Patreon campaign, sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. That will help support all things we do in the podcast space, newsletter space, and now in the Zoom call space. Please jump on one of our Zoom calls, sportsgeekhq.com/Zoom calls. I think that is enough URLs for one episode. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Join Sports Geek Nation access to exclusive Slack and Facebook groups with regular Q&A sessions with Sean Callanan. Go to sportsgeeknation.com to join. Got a question for Sean? Send it in for our Sports Geek Q&A series. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/questions.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.